in all your spare
This
time.
is a very good
Okay.
one.
Thank you for the gift of the tree.
Yeah, it was the 100-year anniversary.
Yeah.
It's the oldest park in town.
Isn't it beautiful? It really is.
I went to school there. I went there, so that makes me feel old.
That's good to go. Okay. This is the May 14th, 2026 meeting of the Salem Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I'm Rick Hartwig and I am chair. We will start today with our roll call. Alan Holland, vice chair. Present. Chris Donaldson.
Here.
Mauricio Flores. Not here. Sigrid Olson.
Here.
Delight Walker
Here.
and Fraser Wick. Fraser is not here, and I'm Rick Hartwig and I'm here. Okay. We have the approval of minutes from April the 9th. I'm sure you all looked over it.
Move to approve minutes from April 9th as drafted.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All righty, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Oh, I love these meetings. Okay. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing or hearing none?
Chair Hartwig, I'll just point out there was some public comment in the packet this month.
Yeah, right, we did. Yes, we did.
Thank you.
All righty, we have our first presentation on the Wallace Marine Park Softball Complex Modernization Exploration. Whoa. With Gretchen, Jennifer, and Rob.
Yes. Hi, I can kick us off if that sounds good. My name is Gretchen Bennett. I am the city's community services director, and I really want to thank you for your service on our Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We wanted to just bring an idea that we've been exploring of recent weeks related to the Wallace Marine Park softball complex. It's exciting that we're heading into our 40th anniversary of celebrating softball here at this location. And at the 11th hour, we became aware of a potential grant opportunity through Travel Oregon, where if we're invited to apply, we would learn that in June. And there could be a potential of a $2.5 million grant that could help with modernization of the Wallace Marine Park softball area. And so we've been exploring that possibility of what would that involve? What could that include? And one of the key, I think, questions to overcome would be we're working to locate a match for the grant. If the Travel Oregon would provide the dollars, we would need to identify a source to match the dollars. It's kind of a one-for-one opportunity there. So we've been looking at it. We understand that transitioning over to a non-crumb rubber turf product, like what was discovered over at Gear Park, could extend the life of the complex maybe by as many as 4 months to give us additional opportunity for recreation at the location. And there may be also opportunity to improve the lighting depending on if the money would work. So I wanted to just provide that initial update of the potential. Rob and Jen may have additional information that they'd like to add or expand upon, and we wanted to invite any thoughts or comments that you might have.
I'll just go real quick to build on to Gretchen's great introduction. Is as we are preparing, doing this investigation, we're looking at pricing and just realizing that we probably won't be able to do a full turf conversion on all the full fields for all 5 and lighting. So we'll be looking at options that are strategic, that are something less than what you might as the full-blown approach. So that would be full turf conversions to all fields and new lighting. So we're gonna we won't be able to afford that even if we got a sizable grant from this particular source we're looking at. So there'll be a little bit more strategic than that. We might be doing infield only, we might be doing only some of the fields, unlikely to accomplish everything we would want to be able to do.
I don't have anything to add. I think you two summarized it lovely.
Yeah.
Very nicely. Thank you.
Okay, 40 years.
Mhm.
I played city softball many years, and at the end of my playing was when it opened.
That's.
So I want to thank you for making me feel so young. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's a wonderful complex. Now, the turf that you're looking at is that like you have at your park?
The pricing we're getting at the moment is the same.
Yeah, and I think that's
yeah.
the same they have at the Oregon State baseball field. I'm pretty sure it's the same stuff. There's a lot of controversy now about artificial versus natural grass. And at baseball, at football especially. So I know that it's come a long way from the putting artificial carpeting over cement, which they started with many years ago. I remember that too. Yeah, I think that's, and the tire chips that come up is another, they're talking about a lot of health hazards and stuff. So, it's worth a conversation, but, anything we can do to make the season longer in the spring and the fall is good. It would be more enticing for more tournaments to come. I'm all for looking into it all and trying to make it work. Money is always an issue, even if you get a grant, you gotta get matching, so, yeah, go for it.
So where would the matching be from?
That's what we're trying to figure out. Boy,
Would it
that's
be from
hard.
us, the city?
I do not find money at the city because all of our funds seem so oversubscribed and planned
Okay.
already. So I'm not finding that. We've been certainly looking, but not that we can find. So
What about the Meyer Memorial?
that's a great idea. That's a potential idea. Yeah. I'm looking for ideas. And so if you have any, I think that
Well,
would be lovely.
Myers changed their, they want to focus on the underserved populations. I noticed that last time I was up there. But they are real money.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's a good idea. Yeah, I've been making inquiry about potential private foundations or just individual donors that might be willing to contribute. Those are all good questions. Yeah.
How much do we need to find?
Well, the total universe, as Rob said, would be larger even than matching this grant. But if we stuck to matching this grant, then that would be finding 2.5 million, because then that would leverage, if successful, 2.5 million from Travel Oregon. But the total project cost would exceed that, so we'd have to scale.
So it'd be
depending.
5 million altogether?
1 million altogether, 2.5 match, 2.5 with Travel Oregon. But then it sounds like the costs to really entirely do all 5 fields would exceed that, so we could go higher if we were successful.
Well, if you had a couple fields, then you could do it would still be able to do some more in the spring and the fall.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
It would, the only thing is for tournament play, you typically 2 fields isn't enough for tournaments,
Right.
but they could be repurposed in a different way. For example, where there's still a need in other types of recreational programs, but it would limit tournament play if you're only doing a couple of fields, potentially.
Okay. Anything else from anybody from anywhere?
I've got a question.
Yes,
4 months extension of life for annual use would increase income to the city for rental fees and use fees and so on. How appreciable is that increase? Or would that increase be approximately? Is there a ballpark estimate for that increase in revenue?
We don't have that figure yet, because we would have to see, depending on the number of fields, and calculate how those fields would be used and then for what months. And we're in the process of also, which is just a factor, not the factor, of updating the master fee schedule. We're in that process now. And so some of those fees are, would be affected in this fee schedule. So it would have some impact on the revenue, but we haven't calculated that out yet, to be honest.
Not really looked at as a significant.
It
move,
wouldn't-
so is it?
Well, not in the amount of the fee itself, not substantial increases this year, but it is extending the life by 4 months. So that's significant amount. If those fields were used, all 5 fields were used, yes, it would. It would be an
Yes,
additional.
I'm not sure how many fall softball tournaments there are. Especially this part of the United States. But if there are, that would be great.
Well, there's some, and then, I'm sorry, I didn't know if you
No,
were
no,
going to say
please.
something, but we also talked about there's a shortage of other types of recreational sports, shortage of fields. So soccer could be played at them, or potentially lacrosse or rugby. So there's other sports to which the fields could be utilized if there was other types of turf.
Like
Once
rugby.
once the softball season had concluded. So that season would be extended on, kind of bookended on both ends, but then there's other sports we would try to integrate in.
All right, anything else from anybody? That's fine.
We've got a letter.
Oh, well, I just wanted to ask, so this wouldn't increase the regular vendor season during softball, right?
It could extend it some because we could start earlier. Now, we typically don't start until about April, so we could start earlier, potentially February or March. So because typically our seasons don't start then just because of the rain.
Sure.
And so it's not from lack of interest in folks coming to play tournaments and doing that. And then typically we end about the beginning of October. So potentially we could extend that perhaps through November or something. So you're really kind of more looking at December and January potentially, where the fields wouldn't be used. So we could extend on both ends a little bit the season, kickball season.
I must say that it's not unheard of. It does occasionally happen that there's a rain out during the rain season. And so this could safeguard against some.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what about funding? Because I'm thinking about the CIP and funding set aside for obviously looking at the natural area and the other part in Wallace. Can any of that be tied into some of this?
We were just studying that. That's one of those generally oversubscribed resources is what we're generally seeing.
Okay.
But TBD, I think, is. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's hard to say for certain. There's not money easily to grab, you
Sure.
know, from that resource.
okay.
I'll add just on a very basic SDC level, the Wallace Marine Park is not currently listed on the 309 list for parks, so we can't use SDCs there. So that would be an act of city council to amend the list to add Wallace Marine Park so we could spend SDCs there. And just to clarify, Wallace Natural Area is considered a separate park unit and it is on the 309 list, but Wallace Marine Park is not.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Okay.
Okay. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that Mr. Elliott Eastman wrote the letter saying that he didn't want this to happen at all and thinks that it's inappropriate for Oregon to use artificial turf. And he won't be coming to the park if we do, or things of that sort. I think he didn't understand that this is an extension.
I think that particular member of the community was commenting on playground surfacing, just to be completely clear, unless I'm confused completely.
Wasn't the Crooked House playground?
Yes, it was a response
Yeah.
to some of our communications about the Cricket House playground.
Okay. Yeah, it has something to do with the softball complex.
I think it does point to a larger community concern about the use of artificial turf, but just specifically, I think the comment had to do with playgrounds.
That was what the article in the Salem Reporter was regarding the playgrounds and not the turf conversion there.
Yes, it is specifically around the Crooked House conversion.
Okay, I
I-
understand that.
In the recent weeks, there has been a published article by Oregon Public Broadcasting about the use of crumb rubber in sport fields. And so again, when it comes to that, we are not looking at systems that involve crumb rubber.
Yeah. I think we have to be very careful about what turf you do put down.
More significant.
And as I previously said, there's controversy. And you have to communicate to the public that you're doing something safe. Because if you talk about artificial turf, you're automatically gonna think about the bad stuff. So, you know, it's that'll be a different issue altogether, but okay, anything else from anybody? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice being had. Okay. Next, Northgate Park Improvements grant application to the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department Local Government Grant Program. We have very long stuff here.
Yes. I wanted to just give an opportunity to obtain some feedback from individual members on a grant maneuver we're making. So I'll just kind of back up a minute. Staff identified an opportunity related to Northgate Park in Northeast Salem. The city has, as part of the 2002 Safety Livability Bond, identified some investments into the park. The main one being the addition of public restrooms. And we have just a little under $1 million allocated for the development of restrooms at the park. So that's what the estimated budget is. And additionally, we are planning to invest bond funds into repairing paved walkways in the park. So with those combined, we will exceed $1 million in a theoretical budget. So we could spend up to $1 million or more than $1 million in bond funds at this park in the coming years. So we saw that as an opportunity to use that investment as a match to a state grant to leverage state funding to the park. And so we are moving quickly to apply to the local government grant program. And this is a state program funded by the lottery. And it is the program the city has had recent success at Gear Park and at Riverfront for the playground. So because the city is only allowed to have 2 active grant awards from this program at one time. So last year we were ineligible to apply because we had 2 active with Gear under construction and we were preparing to go to deliver the playground improvements. We completed the skate park project this fall and have closed out that grant agreement. And so that makes us eligible to apply again. And so we are hoping that we will have success because again, the grant program seeks to fund priorities based on a statewide outdoor recreation plan. And without going into deep dive into that, I will tell you, adding restrooms to a park, splash pads, improving park accessibility, these are things that are high priority at a state level. And so this looks like a great match to the priority. So it's competitive. We're going to be up against all the other local governments in the city or in the state who are applying, but it looks like a really good, compelling argument we can make. So we're preparing to apply. The application is due in early June. City Council authorized the application on Monday. I'm going to walk through what we're thinking about applying for right now, but we're still putting it together because we have a bunch of ideas. We're doing a bunch of cost estimation and making sure that the elements we're going to take on fit the budget we're going to be able to get from the state. I'll zoom in just a little bit. And again, I'm going to talk about this as one cohesive project because it is ultimately the bond funds and the grant funds. I'm going to start with a 8-foot wide pathway that runs through the park today. It runs through a lot of Oregon ash and some wet Oregon white oak. So those are the predominant tree species in the area. Obviously, there's concern about the Oregon ash, right, in Northeast Salem, lax tree canopy in general. So I want to be clear about that. That's a unique component of this park. When we walk out there and look at the condition of this path, staff have observed that it looks like there's a lot of vehicle use on the 8-foot wide path, and it's cracked and crushed the edges of the path. And as we kind of think about and talk to the neighbors about like uses in the park, there seems to be a number of factors contributing to that. Obviously, park staff goes into all our parks with maintenance vehicles. That's just part of maintaining property. But specifically here, we've heard The police often drive through the park, which I don't think is a bad thing. But they're driving through on this path that is not designed for a police cruiser to drive on. And there are events being held in the park sponsored by the Neighborhood Association. There was a First Friday event for a number of years that happened like on the first Friday of the month all summer long. And essentially there would be vendors using it as the access route to go in and set up their activities for that event. And so first and foremost, we're taking a hard look at that path, thinking about widening it to 10 feet, although we want to be very careful around the trees. So that's one element, simply widening and constructing a path designed for heavier vehicle travel. So we don't have this cracking of the concrete over time. So just basically right sizing that path to what the park use is. And then corresponding with that, there's an opportunity to improve the aesthetics of these two entryways where public streets dead end into the park to create like welcoming gateways to kind of link the neighborhood to the park in a better way. We wouldn't spend a ton of money on that, but it is certainly an opportunity. It's also a way to control that access. Today, if I want to take my personal vehicle onto that path, there's actually no physical barrier to stop me, and I could drive into the park. And so we would want to explore controlled access. So again, I don't think anyone's saying that we don't want, I heard no stakeholders say we do not want the police driving through the park, but simply we want to make sure that there's a controlled way for them to. Moving on to this orange corner, this is where there is a very modest splash pad in the park, and it is not brand new by any means. And again, it's quite modest. Parks Planning identified it as one of those things when it breaks, it is a frustration point for our park maintenance staff, and it could be very expensive to repair. And again, it's not new, so we're thinking about its long-term lifespan. And so we focused a lot of thought there about replacing the splash pad with a modern facility that would be more inclusive and have, frankly, more components. It wouldn't necessarily be a huge footprint increase. It would just be more modern splash pad equipment. Nearby is likely where the public restrooms are going to go. They would replace the portable restrooms that are being used in the park frequently today. And then there is a sport court there. It's not, the city hasn't maintained it over 45 years, but just as a note, it does look at it, it is at least 45 years old. When I look at aerials, I see the exact same sport court footprint there 45 years ago. So it is a sport court that clearly needs a reconstruction in the short term. So it's not in great shape. Jen was just telling me yesterday, about 5 years ago, there was an effort through the STIP program to do what we could afford with the STIP program. And so there was a slurry seal restriping, there was some new basketball equipment added. So it's not that we haven't been working to try to extend its lifetime forever. It's just getting to the point where it needs to be reconstructed. So those are generally the components we are looking at. If we are successful and we receive an award, there will be targeted neighborhood outreach around what that splash pad looks like, specifically what kind of sports are in that multi-use court, because when you reconstruct something, it's an opportunity to kind of change it a little bit. So we want to make sure the programming would be most relevant to the neighbors' interests and needs. That said, I want to talk about pickleball just shortly. There has already been a neighbor say, oh, you really got to put pickleball there. And that's one thing I'm probably going to be very reluctant to champion of, because pickleball has a certain noise component to it. And here we are within 150 feet of people's bedrooms. And I think there's a certain minimum setback where we can in good conscience consider that kind of use.
Thank you.
Very considerate. I think that's a great consideration.
We're saying you can do is stripe it for pickleball and then put lights up so you can play at night.
So that's just a little bit more into what we're this is an informational item, but it's an opportunity. If you have any other observations or any other feedback or anything else you'd like us to consider it, that we would love to hear your thoughts.
And this isn't, as the crow flies, this isn't far from what would be, we have not got it developed, the Fisher Street Park, is
Fisher
it?
Park, yes.
Fisher
Yes.
Park. So I love the idea of updating this because it will take a while to get that Fisher Park done, for a long time. And this serves that kind of general community. I could see a mom obviously getting in a car, whatever, it's from those apartments, because I've been up there and this could be it. I love this. I'm so glad. I hope we get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go up and visit this park now.
I just had a question. I thought I heard you say it's $1 million restroom, and I'm going, really? So I probably didn't hear that correctly. So if you could clarify.
You are correct. The estimated project cost to add the restrooms to the park is $975,000.
Oh, really?
That does include, that's the entire cost, so that would include city project management, design, utility extensions, adding a power service, so like adding a power meter to the park. There are a lot of costs. It's not just the price of the restrooms, but certainly the actually purchasing restrooms and constructing them is the lion's share of that estimate.
And this is a small restroom, I assume. I mean, it's not huge, right?
Yeah, so yes, I think we talked about the port and loo being added to McKay. It's possible we will look at that as a solution here. So you are looking at maybe 2 stainless steel small single user restrooms is what we're talking about.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, thank you.
What are the names of, you said that, what are the names? Portland? Lou, yeah, that was it, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, concerns? Feedback? Okay, well, thank you very much. Oh, good, when it's not as long. Park planning practice spotlight, human movement data. Rob.
Great, I'm going to try to keep this high level, but I wanted today, this is a special edition of the Park Planning Spotlight that I've been doing this year because we have something new that we brought in and that I want to make sure the board members are aware of as we learn how to use it and start using it. And the chair and vice chair got a little preview, so they know a little bit already, but this is a new computer. I'm trying to see how I could best share my screen here.
Have we had this introduced to us before?
No, this is brand
Yeah,
new.
it's different.
Okay, but what is that other thing with all the equity stuff? You had that in a couple meetings before. It was really neat.
He did mention this a little bit.
The spatial analysis.
Yes.
Yeah, so actually, let me get through it. I'm probably gonna build it in just a little bit there. Okay, I'm gonna do my best. I'm just gonna roll through my slides here. So I'm gonna talk a little about just what we're talking about. We're talking about human movement data. We're talking about data that's being captured by people's smartphones. There are certain apps that people have downloaded on their phone and have agreed to the terms and conditions associated with those apps, and that those apps are then recording where their phone goes. And so it then records where they go all the time. And so this is using that data. That is what the data is that we're talking about today. And so just some points I want to walk through is the data. First thing to know about it is stripped of all personal identifying information. So before those apps give it to this company we have brought in as a tool, there's all the personal identifiers have been removed from it. It's just location data. After they receive it, they aggregate it. So it's for personal privacy reasons. They won't talk about one person's movement. That could give away their privacy, right? So they're reporting about an aggregate, and if there's less than 50 data points, they won't report because that gets into personal privacy. So there's these personal privacy safeguards built into it. So it sounds like when I say it's tracking your movement, it sounds kind of wow, right? But it is not personal information. It's looking at just the movement of people broadly, in a sense. Then the company is called Placer Labs, and their website is called placer.ai. And so the AI part, the machine learning component is this third point here. That's the proprietary technology. It's using artificial intelligence to help take that data and make estimates. So not everyone in the world is being tracked. Only a small portion of the population of the United States is being tracked with these apps. They're then extrapolating information about the whole United States population. And that's where the AI comes in. Just like a pollster might use a sample size to report to you about something about an elections outlook, right? It's the same kind of idea. We're using statistics, we're using machine learning. It's estimates. So I just want to make that really clear. But they're really surprisingly accurate from what I can see. But I will also say that. You will also see, as I roll through some slides, some maps that show dots or a heat map that would generally refer to where someone is living. And I want to talk about that that is also generalized. So we're not showing an actual location of where someone's house is. We're talking about a general area where that person is coming from. Again, going back to the personal privacy protection built into this tool. So this is my disclaimer. Before I start showing you stuff, I want to make sure that it is, for lack of a better term, a little creepy, but it is not people's personal information. I'm going to show just some examples as we get to learn how to use this tool. Here is the skate park, and then I have in this, what I'm showing you here, I geo-fenced just the project site at here. This is not the whole park. This is just our project location for the skate park here. And this is looking at January 1st, 2005, up into just a few days ago, last week sometime. And I've also placed a filter on this data, so it's not going to be reporting any estimates of people who stayed less than 10 minutes. So that helps us understand these are users of the skate park. I just want to put your attention to the pre-construction period. So where no one was at the site, it was just undeveloped park space. We have very little use. Then in March of last year, we began constructing the skate park, and we had contractors and their laborers showing up on a regular basis working at the site. And that is this period right here where you can see that we had some weekly visits to the site. If you might recall, if you were there on the board at the time, we had a SPRAB tour on November 20th, which was the day the skate park officially opened for public use. And so you can see then this is then public use of the skate park at that time. And so just real here, this is just the first graph I'm going to show you. We're currently, as we get into a nicer time of year, seeing weekly use of the skate park around 1,000 people a week.
This is great. I love this.
Yeah.
It's totally cool.
We're still going to be looking at the Gear Skate Park site, but I want to put your attention to, I've now changed the date range here. We're now just looking at since the opening. And I pulled this just today. And because of that, the data is a little more fresh. We're going through all the way through this past weekend. So we get the data pretty quickly is what I want to highlight there. Here we're talking about when people come during the day. This is where Jen and her team are going to probably find a lot of use in it. And so we can see, when is the skate park busy? Its peak demand time is 4 p.m. in the afternoon. People are not skateboarding so much at 6 a.m. in the morning. Interesting, there are some people there at midnight. I don't know. It's not a ton of people.
You don't have lights, correct?
We have some nearby path lighting.
Well, they've
So-
got headlights probably.
I don't know what's going on there.
You don't want to know.
But clearly the majority of use is when one would expect it to be, and that's good and reassuring.
During parks regularly.
This is
Not 12, yeah.
We'll now look at the days of the week. So again, like you would expect, what day of the week would one expect the skate park to be the busiest? On Saturday, right? And so we see your higher uses on the weekends. But that said, I mean, we're seeing pretty consistent use during the work week as well.
It'd be interesting once school's out to compare the Monday,
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that big shift. Yeah. As a user, I have unlimited flexibility to run these reports, and that's what's so amazing about it. You can, as we get to understand how to use it, it's a fantastic tool. And just real quick, one thing I want to point is the duration of stays. And here I just want to highlight it to remind people, I have a filter on this report to not pick up people just walking through they're actually the users. So that filter is still in place, so you'll see no reporting for less than 10 minutes. Here, interesting, as a community park, as a park planner, we talk a lot about community parks should have activities that keep people there for at least an hour. Like we talk about that a lot. Like at your neighborhood park, maybe you're spending half an hour or 45 minutes, but when you're going to a community park, you're doing something that's like a ball game or an activity that's generally an hour or more. And so kind of interesting, the skate park is averaging a 73-minute stay. And there are some people who are spending more than 150 minutes there at a time, but we're getting a sense of how long people are staying at the skate park. I'm gonna switch over here. I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just trying to let you know kind of just what it is, and we're gonna get more into how to use it as the time goes here. But I'm gonna switch over. This is another custom area on my map, and we're looking at Wallace soccer fields. So not the softball complex, we're looking at just the soccer fields. It does include a parking lot. That's just right when you drive into Wallace. This is actually the area I mapped to run this report. And I just some astonishing numbers here. So this is for the entire year of 2025. So we're looking at January 1st through the end of the calendar year. So this is 1 year. And again, I do have that filter on for people who stayed less than 10 minutes are not being counted. The estimated visitorship. So how many visits? Over 155,000 people use the soccer fields.
Good.
Their average time was a little over an hour. So it makes sense, you know, a soccer game, that makes sense. I'm not going to go into the visitor. I'll go into this in a little bit on another slide, but panel visits. This is the sample size that it's all based on. So of the estimated 155,000 visits, the number of panelists or people with phone data being tracked is a little under 7,000. So to give you a sense, that's the sample.
Is there anything that tells you, people who come multiple times?
Yes, absolutely. This is like a high level summary. We can really drill down. So in terms of visits, the number of overall visitors is around 33,000 people. And so then that then shows you that there are recurring visits. The average is about 4.7 visits per person. So these are not, there are certain people that are coming once a year. There's some people who are coming 12 times a year.
No.
Year over year visitation is increasing. And I thought, well, I did this and I went, what effect is having the gear soccer fields closed having on Wallace? That was the thought that crossed my mind. I didn't have a chance to drill in on that, but that could. This shows patterns, it doesn't show why. So it's like, why is that happening? And so, you know, you start to wonder, why is that happening?
Now I have a question, Melissa, if you're just real quick. Is this able, you know, I'm looking at that and we're thinking of that path, right? Not very far from here to go along.
Mhm.
Is this able to track path use or, you know, mobile, like we're calling, just outside of park, but path use?
Yes, it does appear to be able to
Fabulous.
catch path users, like
Okay.
trail users, yes.
Yeah,
We would definitely adjust this 10-minute stay. That would be obviously need required.
right.
Here is a heat map of where those users are coming from. And so this is just a high level heat map just to give us a quick spot. Obviously, there's a huge at Salem. It's the Salem's Park, but it's also clearly having a regional draw. There are people from Woodburn, there are people from Corvallis, there's people all over the valley coming to play soccer at Wallace Marine Park.
That's remarkable.
I'm gonna stop on this one for a minute. Now we're getting at more complex analysis in this portal. So the captured audience profile. So this is looking at, again, we're not tracking individual people, but we have their location data. And so the software knows their home location. And then they can look at publicly available census data about that home location. And so this is demographic information about the places people are coming from, not the people coming to the park. It's a subtle difference, but it's an important one to make.
Okay.
And it's benchmarking against the state of Oregon, so the demographics of the state of Oregon overall. And so I'm just gonna punch to what I'm trying, one more thing I need to explain to you, the 30% visits, the 50% visits, and the 70% visits. This is gonna be showing your repeat visitors. These are people who are coming more often. If I had 100% visitors, that would include everybody. That would include people who are tourists who are coming to the park once and that never again. So this, again, we're just trying to just get a general idea of who's coming to the park. That's what this tool is, not telling us who's coming to the park, but generally maybe shining some light on who might be coming to the park. And I did pick ethnicity because it did stand out to me. We have, you know, around looking at kind of our most loyal customers to the park. We have a little over 40% as Hispanic or Latino, and as a benchmarking against the state of Oregon as a whole, that's way high for that ethnic group, right? That's way over. The other one that's interesting to me, although it's only like 2.2% of our core visitors, the Pacific Islander group really also is flagging up. So this is like going back to like that social equity thought. This would be suggestive of this is a use that is serving areas and people who are members of those groups.
Okay, and so, for example, my son plays for CFC, and that is, a large chunk of that is Hispanic. It's soccer. They are very invested in that. But that also tells us that soccer is beginning to draw from that native, that Pacific Islander population.
It's suggesting of it, yeah, so.
I mean, I know we don't
Suggesting,
know.
and I was telling some staff about this morning. I would say maybe let's go do some field verification, like maybe intercept surveys. I wouldn't just rely on this tool,
No,
but it's
no.
really interesting. that
But
it
there
shows
is
that.
something, and that would be, we're seeing that in our schools, or high school at least. We're seeing that group starting to link up with that other group, which is very positive every time we get these. Because that's a population generally that is having some challenges. Those kids are, yeah, great. So it's cool.
I have two more slides, just one more example to talk about. In March, in this spotlight component of the meeting, I talked about this idea of park sheds and how we did the spatial analysis where we made huge assumptions about, everyone just goes to the closest park of their house. And so then let's look at what neighborhood parks are like that are carrying extra weight because they're serving so many people. I don't know if you recall, I presented this pretty much this exact slide. And I talked about how Bill Regal Park was like a genuine outlier in this analysis because it just serves so many people in that corner of the city. And I will say, as I go to the next slide, Secor Park, which is located here in South Salem, it does serve a lot of people too. But it's more in this area of the curve there. So we're now going to compare visitorship between those two neighborhood parks. So this is another component of the tool. We can compare locations. So we are comparing two neighborhood parks. And again, this is just really interesting. So again, all of 2025, all visits, there's no 10-minute filter on this one. Bill Regal Park, 15,000 visits. Secor Park, 18,000 visits. So right here, if that would, the Secor Park serving more people or more visits. Visits per square foot, I think this is kind of interesting. Secor Park is bigger, it has more open space, there's a natural area. Bill Regal is a much smaller neighborhood park. It's only a few acres. And so it's on a square footage basis, there's more visitors coming to Bill Regal. In terms of visitors, Secor has more visitors, much more visitors, almost double of Bill Regal. But Bill Regal has higher frequency. And of course, when I was looking at this morning, I said, well, there's some land use differences around the parks. There is an immediately adjacent multifamily housing complex at Bill Regal. There is also multifamily serving that Secor serves. It's more of a walk. It's more of that 10-minute walk. So I think that I was wondering, well, maybe is that apartment complex that's right there. It's like their backyard. This is where they go quite often. It also interesting to me was the difference in average use time. So at Secor, people are spending about 35 minutes. But at Bill Regal, there's noticeably longer stays, almost an hour. And then here again, there's that panel visit number. Just to give you disclosure about what the sample size is that this is all being drawn from. And then I thought this was really interesting. Bill Regal is getting more popular over time. So year over year, we're seeing increased visitorship, which I don't know why. I just noticing these things through this new data tool. And then at Secor, we're actually seeing a decline in use. And just again, here's a theory, just a theory. Bill Regal is becoming more popular because we completed development of it approximately 2 or 3 years ago. Secor Park, we completed the first phase of development a little longer than that. I think it was more like 5 or more years ago. And so those new improvements are starting to not be brand new. And maybe it's not the brand new playground to go visit. And so maybe that could explain some of the reduction in use. I don't know, that's just a theory. That's the last slide I had. I just wanted to introduce this as a new tool. It's, I think, really valuable to Parks and Rec in multiple ways, but it has been brought in specifically to help with the system plan update. It is available as a tool to all of the community services department. We have purchased a 1-year subscription at this point. We're kind of just testing it out at this point. But that means the library and other city services in the community services department do have access to it and can be looking, are going to be able to see how they can use it as well.
Well, this is interesting. I bet I would be addicted to this. I mean, because this is data.
Yeah.
And even though I know you can attach different reasons, but it gets you thinking, at least it gets you thinking in ways. And so, for example, at Secor, I mean, because I think that's in my Sprague district, those are. So there's a big concern, just gonna throw it out there, it will affect parks ultimately but there's huge declines in enrollment. This is a grave concern. It's a grave concern all over the United States. But even Sprague, our population is dropped considerably. We've actually lost 700 students from what we call our peak time. So we're gonna see a more decrease as we have fewer kids. I mean, it makes sense. We're getting fewer kids in the schools, we have fewer kids in the parks, right? And that's just something to think about. That area is actually, that population in our area is declining. Paige is saying that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
young people, children decline, not old folks.
Now, you've got this for 1 year and it's coming out of the park budget.
It's a direct cost for the park planning update, so it's
Okay.
coming out of the.
So if you want to renew it after this year, how beneficial would this be for the entire city government?
We don't know yet, but we're certainly thinking about it, talking to our coworkers about it, having
So,
those
so that
discussions.
you can spread the cost through the complete system.
Yeah, yeah, that's an internal discussion that is happening.
Okay, good.
I think this is absolutely an invaluable tool. I really see that immediately being something that would be just once you start using it, you can't imagine what you did without it.
I think I should have said this at the beginning, but it is not, we're not, this company is the only municipal client by a long shot. They actually have a lot of municipal clients, and they've shared with us that Park and Rec is one of their biggest customer bases. So we are being innovated here, but by no means are we the first ones, Park and Rec group, to
The city
figure out
could
this.
use it for street traffic.
I would say it's really great for parks in terms of like understanding use of streets. It's something, again, it's part of that discussion that's going on internally. It's just maybe not when you really get into it, it's not super great. There are maybe other tools that could be better for like who's using streets. This is really good for parks.
Okay, so, yeah, they do have to see what the traffic is on a certain street. They do have those things that go across that you drive over. But this seems much more techy.
Yeah.
It may not be fast enough to record. It depends on, sorry to interrupt.
That's
I
good.
was just
I was
thinking about
hoping
the
that-
technology about, if it's coming through satellite, if it's coming from what, and how often the locations are picked up.
Yeah. But I'm sure there are plenty of uses that outside of the parks that could be used by the city.
Yeah.
I want to be an ambassador to see that somehow this gets planted in a larger realm. Okay.
I had a question,
Yes.
Rob, and I'm just curious about, I just looked it up quickly. It's Buxton, right? Correct? It's a Texas company. So is that correct?
I do believe it is a Texas company. That's right.
And my curiosity is always going to be, we've got this great Oregon State and now all these wonderful places doing all these techniques. AI, my son graduated from their great engineering programs, right? Just curious if maybe in a year there might even be an Oregon one, right? It's a competitive, how do you seek this out? So we know maybe that, this is something that you could even be talking to Oregon State saying, we need this. We need you to do something like this.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. Like, this is an emerging technology and we're going to the current industry leader, but yeah, by no means, maybe we're living in an amazing time. Like just even having this tool, who knows what's going to happen in 5 years, right?
No.
Yeah, I found out my computer is very outdated, needs to be replaced, and I'm 7 years old, and I go, it's new to me. Okay, any other concerns, questions? All righty, go forth and do it.
Can you hear me talk for just a little bit longer today? Should just get my screen up.
Okay.
On the last item on the main business today for the meeting is I want to present this diagram to you as an interim use plan for Stella Street Park. And I actually am going to open Google Maps and show you where Stella Street Park is first. I think there's been some discussion at SPRAD recently about this park, but for everyone to be on the same page, I want to talk about its location. I'm zooming in near the intersection of Corden Road and State Street, or I'm sorry, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I drive by this every day, I mean, every time I go to the soccer field, it's like.
Just across the road from Terra Gardens.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so it's such a, it seems, driving by it seems bigger in real life, you know, yeah.
The city was able to purchase approximately 6 acres as part of this plan development what's called East Park Development. And this area is a little out of date.
Yeah.
It's all residential now, right? So other than the 6 acres of park property. So the 6 acres of park property is generally, and my cursor is showing its boundary right here. To the south, we have a large apartment complex that has filled in this area. And then across the street on Stella Street, we have new homeowners living in single family homes. And that is true for the north edge of the park as well. So generally that is the location of the park. We budgeted a little bit more money for this acquisition than it took to complete it, although it was not a cheap acquisition. We had some budget left over in the project. And so we repositioned that money to allow us to do what we call pre-development of the site, knowing that it may be some time before it gets in line and makes its way through the line and gets a development plan and gets funded for a development plan, and we actually develop the park. The idea is, what can we do now to set it up for some use by all those new residents? So it's not just, so it's more helpful to them as a recreational space. I think I'll leave it that way. So we have approximately $200,000 that is our budget here. We're preparing to go out for public bids, and pending SPRAD's endorsement of our pre-development plan. Last week we went to ELNA, the neighborhood association, presented this to them, and they seemed very supportive of it. And so we just want to run it by you. This process we're doing when we go to the neighborhood association, then we come to SPRAD is a part of the current park system plan. It allows for this streamlined planning process to just do some basic improvements to an undeveloped park. But we've never actually done it before. So we're using a tool in our toolbox we've never used. Well, that's not fair. We do lots of pre-development. We just haven't done it so quickly after a park acquisition. So
There's a huge population of this now.
So with our money, that our budget, I should put it, I'm gonna actually going to share some photos.
Grade and seed.
So first at the street end, at the north end, which is our access for maintenance, we have what we call a type 3 barrier. That's what a type 3 barrier is. And then here in the background, you can see this Oregon white oak growth. So that's one of the reasons this property became the park. We wanted to preserve that stand of trees. I'm going to show some flooding we noticed in 2025. And so here, this is our staff drawing a line, just showing how far the standing water extended in the oak grove. This is the east side of the grove. We have standing water after a large storm event. This is not great for the Oregon tree, the Oregon white oaks. This is because they're not happy in this kind of situation. This will lead to a decline and loss of the trees if we don't do something about it.
Yeah.
And just like here, a couple more photos, again, showing that and this is typical, we've seen the same thing happen this winter. This was from last winter, but this winter was no different.
Okay, now, was this aggravated by the building of the houses, and was there something?
It's really difficult, not the actual building of the houses. There was a lot of construction of public streets and infrastructure as part of the developers' work, and then they sold to homeowners. to home builders who built the actual homes. It's unclear to what extent the developer made a already not great situation worse. We can't tell.
Okay.
I think the lesson learned for us is maybe to be a little bit better with our inspection of property as we buy property. The mushroom, like the previous land use seems to be a very much a contributing factor. We can't just blame the developer. It creates them. This is our staff just showing what they think the solution is, and that is that there's this basically this rock road, this compacted rock, and that we need to cut through that so we can drain it. That was they were explaining it. We had engineering take a little closer look with topography and getting a survey out there. But this was the field staff reporting back the issues they were observing to us.
By cutting that rock barrier or rock road, that will drain it.
I'll get there in a minute. Yeah, I'll get there in a minute. Just here. I know it's literally muddy, but this is actually where there's some asphalt remnants from an old asphalt road, like going back to the mushroom farm. One more here. Yeah. You got the general idea. Remember, Walker, were you able to see my photos?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Microsoft Edge, here we go. Okay, so here to our plan. I'm gonna just start up here at that street end. We're gonna remove that type 3 barrier and folding bollards so our park staff can get in there and we can keep people with their vehicles out. So not putting pedestrians out, but keep vehicles from going in there. There's a stormwater system in the roadway. We're gonna connect to it and extend a perforated pipe to this side of the tree grove. This is what, this is a lot of discussion between Mylan and our engineering staff about how to approach this best. There's going to be a removal of a lot of asphalt and crushed rock from around the trees. Up to 9 inches of material being removed in places. That's what we're proposing. And the idea here is we're trying to create drainage. It's all about drainage. And we're going to move it. There was some sediment fence. There is some sediment fence there. It does a good job of defining like a tree protection zone. Kind of want to leave it up, especially as heavy equipment's going into work. So this is just Mylan saying that we got to bump that out. But don't get too close to the trees on that side. These, for your information, is just where we had some geotechnic borings done so we can understand how much gravel, what we're actually dealing with there. So again, it's all really focused on the oak trees here, but there is a little bit more we're planning to do with our $200,000. Park staff is proposing to seed the entire site with a native wildflower mix, so that we would create kind of a consistent, community of plants growing on the site that are not just invasive weeds. So that we would just time that really well in the fall and we would seed it and let those seeds do their thing. There's no irrigation proposed. We're not going to do any mowing aside from the rough mowing we do with undeveloped properties. It would just set it up for a little bit easier maintenance, a little bit more attractive landscape perhaps for the neighbors. The city did lease 1 acre of the site to the developer of the apartment complex. And it needs maybe a little bit more light grading just to restore it back to the way we would want to mow it, right? So even though we're using rough mowers, if we can remove rocks and protrusions from the ground, we make it for a better use for the neighborhood, and we also don't reduce risk to damaging our mowers. So it's about setting it up the site for like this interim use period where we're mowing it a few times a year at most, and we're trying to create a usable open space for the community. And then lastly, using the City Tree Fund, Mylan's team is proposing to plant some street trees on, and again, I say street trees, but it's actually on the park property. Between Cordon Road and the trees, we have a swale that's collecting runoff from Cordon Road. That's the county's road. So we don't want to get too much into the county's right away. So we're planning them in, we're starting to create basically a tree buffer between the 55 mph major road and our park here. So that's what we are attempting to do with the money we have. When we went to Elna, we very much stressed to them that this would be a great setup to then allow them to use STIF grants to do more. And they seem to very much acknowledge that.
Now, am I wrong, but at one point, I thought there was a sidewalk that you did on the.
Long Stella?
Yes, you can see this cul-de-sac and South Street being roughed out. So the park frontage has a sidewalk developed, already done. On Cordon Road, it's a little bit better than that. It's a full 10-foot wide multi-use path. And there's a connection from that multi-use path into the park at the north end here. So people riding their bikes along Cordon Road as this 10-foot wide path gets developed over time, right? We'll be able to have direct access into the park.
Great. Do more with less money.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes. Just north of there, underneath Delight Walker's square on the screen was Holland Park. It's a baseball field, I think.
It's a little
That's
league
private.
field.
That's private, is that not?
That is
Yeah.
this is a private facility. I don't know a ton about it, but it is a private outside of the urban growth boundary. And it's in Marion County. Yeah.
It was Parish
Parish
Little
Little
League.
League.
It may belong to, I think there's a service club that is right about there. I'm thinking about another one. But yeah, it was Holland Park at one point in time. They have they're little league fields, but they're also a big league field. You see the big one in there. And the actually our Class A professional team played there one summer, which but the field was not really big enough. I mean, it was home run derby, but yeah, I spent many a day there when the wind shifted, and we knew the wind shifted because we could smell this mushroom factory. Yeah, that obviously on the other side of Cordon Road there is a huge development that needs a park.
Absolutely. I also highlight when we're talking about like kind of what's nearby in terms of recreational resources is the Capital Futsal Club. It has their quite large complex pretty close by as well on State Street. So you're looking at 3 synthetic soccer fields and a lot of smaller youth fields that are used a lot.
Yeah,
And only getting more, they're just building a big complex there, so.
yeah. I have a granddaughter from Boise, Idaho that played there. I mean, they bring people for tournaments in from all over the Northwest. Yeah. Okay, any other questions, concerns?
And so yeah, staff would like a motion or to endorse the plan. That would be great. If
Okay, are we ready to endorse the plan? Any discussion about that? Okay, and somebody can move to endorse the plan.
I move to approve the proposed plan for the proposed interim use plan for Stella Park.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
All right, it's we have a second. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor say, or if we do it individually or just a group?
I think you're okay. But there's
Just a group?
yeah.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Everybody, I think. Okay. And nays, I guess I should, okay. All righty, so you can go ahead and further and.
We will proceed. We're gonna proceed to publicly bid it because we want to make sure we can get the best value from the contractor. So we're gonna definitely publicly bid this one.
Hey, do more with less.
I think this will be a very welcomed improvement in that area with the increase of residences in there. It's really a needed.
It's huge, huge. I was shocked because I hadn't been through there for a few months, and all of a sudden, there are all these gigantic apartment buildings, And, like, where are all the people coming that are living there?
It's,
They're coming from their parents' basements or something, I'm not sure. Okay, thank you very much. Alrighty, council liaison updates.
I don't have anything to add right now.
Okay, so the council's not doing anything.
Oh, we just finished the budget, citizen budget
Yeah.
committee, just voted the budget.
Yeah, I know
Moved that on.
that's,
Monday night, we approved the Northgate Park Improvement Grant application to move forward. That was on the consent agenda. I mean, there are lots of things,
yeah,
but
I know
not
that
like parks
the
specific.
budget's, is a big deal right now, yeah. I attended a neighborhood association and one of the council members, that's all he talked about.
Mhm.
And his report was budget, so.
Sure.
Alrighty,
Here.
well, find more money somehow. Board member updates, thank you very much. Board member updates, I will start, I have, I can probably say that I have visited my two neighborhood associations. And, Rob puts together a wonderful slideshow. If your neighborhood association does not have if they meet in person but cannot do a slideshow, he will give you printed versions of it to distribute. I encourage you to take advantage of Rob in that regard. And I also encourage you to, if you have not already contacted your neighborhood associations, to do that. And just decide, now, some of them don't meet a lot in the summer, so. And the SPIF system starts in September, so I would encourage you to get on it right away if you have not already. Now, we did have, at the last meeting, we talked about the fact that with our resignation on the board here, that we had two neighborhood associations that were did not have anybody, and we're not gonna get a replacement at least until next month. And I think, Chris, you were with, what is it, Cessna? Cessna, and but we don't know if we have anybody that's covering Morningside. Is that true? I heard somebody say that they were going to, they might do that, but I don't remember who it was down the road here. So if anybody wants to take Morningside, let us know. And I think everybody should visit Morningside at least once. It's a very active neighborhood association with lots of people involved. And so, okay, any other updates that we have?
Yeah, I will. Okay, so I was with Scan last night and they were great. I prepared a speech, Rob. They didn't have the slide technology and everything. And I walked the parks, I walked my area, and then I'm gonna walk Swan and before that, I'm slated to meet with them on June. They were really appreciative, but I want to tell you something. When I was walking the parks the other day, I took an extensive walk, actually from Northeast Salem all the way up here, and I lived in Scan. So they loved the playground was packed, the Crooked Street playground. But I asked a couple questions of the people what they thought of it. Someone said, we need those swings higher. So the parents brought me over and they said they need this 2 swings that are scratching the turf. They said, tell the Parks Department to move them up just a few inches. They're even too low for what they think are little kids. Now, I don't know how this is the appropriate place to say that, but I'm just passing that on. Okay, another thing that was a big topic was yesterday was the mowing at Bush Park, the non-mowing at Bush Park. And it was great because I appreciate being on this board because I assured them the sensitivity the board members had in multiple meetings about the mowing of the grass, making it accessible for the picnic area, in particular that corner. So I have a question to ask. Can I ask this now? They want to know about that picnic table being moved a bit. Is that going to get anchored? Is there going to be a picnic table anchored in that corner? Are we going to proceed with that pavilion? They don't have the information on that. We know it's not being mowed.
Right, so yes, we are looking at anchoring the picnic tables.
Okay,
And the pavilion is not moving forward at the
Right.
time. It's
Okay.
essentially an idea with no funding.
okay, great. Okay, good. And we brought that up. But I talked about, that the scan and everyone has a responsibility, if we know about it, is to explain to bystanders why the grass isn't being mowed. I said, because, okay, so when I was walking up from the Cricket House, I asked about 7 people who were walking. I stopped and asked, do you understand the grass is not mowed? You know what's going on? And they didn't know what was going on. They know it wasn't mowed. So I explained to them there was these new sensitivity to the root systems and everything and saving the white oaks. And so I did have signs out there last year, I think. And so I said, let's just get that word out. That was my big deal. Okay, that's it. But other than that, it was great.
And we'll have signage,
Oh, you
again
might
as
do it
well.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We're also gonna be more proactive this year, aside from signage and preparing other kinds of messaging to help. So it's just not only signage to help with kind of educate messaging as to why we're not mowing specifically in that area. So,
Sure.
yeah.
In line with the mowing policies. I noticed in some places there's a footprint designated or agreed upon by the operations about how much mowing is to be done in any one park. It's sort of like a defined perimeter. And I'm wondering if those are being adjusted or moved in at all to allow for the re-establishment of native plants such as camas. I see, what prompted my question is that I've noticed in one particular park that it doesn't seem to be mowed quite out to the trees and the brush. There's a little bit more foliage and growth into the lawn that has allowed some camas to come up and some other wildflowers. I'm wondering if that's an intentional gap or if it's just coincidental that they hadn't mowed as far.
So we do that in some parks so that camas can bloom and to do that. But we have tried to in the parks, but to put messaging up so folks know it's an intentional act, not that it's just not maintenance being performed. So depending if you want to share the parks that you're referring to, then we can, assist by making sure there's messaging up so folks know that.
No problem with that. It was at Rush College. I've noticed the water fountains have been turned on earlier than what I've known in the past. And I think that's a good thing. So that's great. One, however, in the major soccer area of Wallace Marine Park is not operating. I think it's been damaged or it may be have been turned down or something, but the others are finding one in the middle of Wallace Marine Park needs some work. So, and that's the one that would get the most use when the kids are playing. So I hope that some attention could be given to that. The Fisher Road Park. What's the status of its development? I went by there yesterday or the day before and it looks like the grass is 3 feet tall.
Yeah, I was also there last week. It is tall. I think it's on the rough mowing schedule, so it will be gone.
Right.
We'll get to it pretty soon.
Yeah, we have a schedule for rough mowing. We have lots of properties that need to be rough mowed. So we have a schedule for how many times and then staff.
At my house too.
Yeah. So it just takes time, right? Everything's growing.
I know.
Proficiently now, so, yeah, so it just takes, yeah, so it just takes time to kind of keep making the cycles, yeah.
In regards to the status, if it's okay, I'll touch on that when
Thank you.
when I do my oral update here in a minute. Because we didn't do a written division report this week, I have a couple updates to give.
And a follow-up to the question that I raised about Indigenous people's names being attached to park. I'm still pursuing conversations with Mako Hayashi, and she is working with a designer in Portland, and we're continuing to have discussions about that in hopes that we can move ahead with it. But no further updates other than that.
Okay. All right, anything else from anybody else? Okay.
Could I add something really quick?
Hmm?
Or I guess not, I guess
No.
updates kind of,
Okay,
just park related. I visited Orchard Heights last weekend and checked out the new pedestrian crossing that's going in, the new enhanced pedestrian crossing, and it will be done this summer. They're working with 3 different contractors for electrical and everything else with the electrical parts in. So it's gonna be one of the enhanced flashing ones there where Parkway comes in, which is great. There's that. One of the reasons I went also was that public testimony about the dog park sign, and I didn't know what the status of that was. Just thought I'd mention that.
Is that sign gonna get fixed?
I believe so. Yeah, replaced. And I was also over at Wallace Marine Park, walk trail. It looks absolutely fantastic. I just want to invite people to be over there using the trail, riding bikes. It just looks really, really good. I couldn't even find a candy wrapper. And I walked a lot of different trails as long as the main one, all the way up to the top of the, where the softball parking lot is. Just letting folks know that they should be out there using it because it's great. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Any last minute stuff there? Alrighty, we had the written reports from Parks and Recreation and Mission Park Conservatory.
Chair Hartwig, we didn't do a report this time because we're quite busy, but it's okay. I want to read out some quick updates.
Okay.
So I think it was mentioned, but I just want to be clear that we've completed the resurfacing of the Crooked House playground at Bushes Pasture Park, and that's now open. Looking at the next 2 playgrounds to receive bond investments next summer, that would be Aldridge Park and Royal Oaks Park. We've in the last month engaged with those neighborhood associations for those areas and are softly launching an online survey targeting just those neighborhoods. And as we move into the summer, we're gonna here in the next few weeks, what our priority is to meet with the 2 principals of the corresponding elementary schools. And we're hoping that we can possibly before school gets out, get a flyer sent home so that those school communities can participate in the survey. So that's something we're working on right now.
That was Aldridge and what's the other one?
Royal Oaks Park, so that's Swiggle Elementary School and Bush Elementary School are the 2 that correspond to those. Brown Road Park is a neighborhood park in Northeast Salem that's slated for a phase 1 development next summer. We're preparing to construct that next year. So as part of that, we're going through the city's land use process. And so we do expect in any day now, we will get through what's called completeness review on our site plan. And that's a meaningful milestone for that project as we move toward getting full construction documents put together. So that's progress on that one. Fisher Road Park, the news there is that we've made it through the grant we requested from the state. That's actually federal funds. We made it through the competitive component of that solicitation process. So we are ranked 3rd in priority statewide, and the state has enough, or there's enough funding available to fund everyone who applied. And being the 3rd highest scoring, that puts the city in a great position to get our requested $2.2-ish million. So now we're entering the federal part of the process, which is an administrative process. So I mentioned I was at Fisher Road last week. The reason I was at the park was I was doing our pre-award inspection with the state. I was giving them a tour of the site so they could see that it exists, that it is a park that's suitable to be a park. And so that's just, we're getting through the bureaucratic process before we can get a grant award, hopefully this fall. So that's good news. With that, we are very close to issuing a project assignment to a design team so they can actually start design on that project. I would expect that to happen next week.
Great.
We're in a similar position at Fairview Park. That's in South Salem. We've been negotiating a fee and level of effort with the design team there. We're really close. We just want to make sure we're not paying for consultant services we don't need. So there's a lot of back and forth with them. So it's taking longer than I want it to, but I see daylight at the end of these processes of negotiating, and that's really great because we can actually get the design work going. Bailey Ridge Park in South Salem in the East Hill area, we're doing an investment in that park this summer, really focusing on the creek restoration I spoke about a couple months ago. That is headed for construction start in early July. We have completed bidding. We have we almost have a construction contract with the contractor, so that's in great shape. And then lastly, Wallace Natural Area Planning process. That to really get that planning work underway, we need to do some assessment work on the site at the natural area. And so next week, we're going to be having consultants come out for several days to complete their field work. This is a logistically challenging maneuver for us because Salem Police Department is going to be there to kind of help them as they need to especially go into the north part of the natural area. And this natural area has a dense tree canopy. And so GPS is not that helpful because of the trees. They interfere with the signal. So our city surveyor is going to have his staff out there too, and they're going to be mapping the various wetlands and whatever our consultants are identifying. They'll be picking that up with topographic survey. So this is logistically kind of a complex maneuver we're doing, but field work next week, and then that will get us going into the planning process. Looking forward just briefly, at the last weekend of this month, we might have our first baseball use at the geared fields. We're getting really close to opening those. On June 1st, McKay Park soccer, that's a Monday. McKay Park soccer fields are gonna close and our contractor is gonna start the project there. On June 5th, so then that's the Friday, the dog park and picnic facilities at Gear are expected to open. On June 6th, that's the Saturday, that's when we expect it to be the first soccer field used at the new Gear fields. So that's the McKay users moving on over directly to the Gear fields, and then the McKay fields going offline for reconstruction.
What's the scheduled completion for McKay anticipated?
We're shooting to seed those fields in either late August or early September, so they will be completely ready next year.
Good.
That's what's really important, that we start on June 1st. And we just had our pre-construction conference with the contractor and they're ready to go. So that the McKay project's looking really good. Last update is also on June 6th. The contractor at Riverfront Park is expecting to have completed the new path that's going to be just north of the playground. No benches or lighting fixtures yet, but the path will be paved and be able to be open to the public. And their fencing will shrink down a lot and it'll be much tighter just around the playground. So as we get ready to have a reduced impact on events in the park as we go into the busy season.
I would imagine that the delay in the Center Street bridge retrofitting has no effect on anything else that we're doing.
That's true. Yes, we will.
It's actually-
These projects will all be wrapped up before they start, luckily.
Yeah. Okay.
Another update I'd like is, the city's been gaining information and opinions upon the contrast between the curvature design versus the straight design between or connecting the parks, Riverfront Park. Have we got any information on what is the predominant choice and what's the status of when that's going to be worked on?
Yeah, I was able to attend an internal meeting with the project manager where the results of the survey were presented. They had a pretty good amount of survey results. It was on the order of several hundred. It may have been as many as 400, I don't recall. One thing I very much recall is the linear style design was overwhelmingly preferred by those who responded to the survey.
Really?
Yeah, and there was also a large majority who preferred to have the overlook more in the center of the path as opposed to closer to Commercial Street.
Great. And the timing for beginning that is likely to be what?
I don't want to misspeak, but my recollection is that one is set for construction in 2028. So at this point, the design team's putting their heads down because there's some technical, some of that design team's challenges include coordinating the railroad company. And so they have a lot to do. So they're gonna kind of put their heads down and just get going on that work.
Okay. Good. Anything else? If not, moving on, new business. Is there any new business we want to look at for the future meetings? Okay. Well, I've run out of things to do here, so I guess we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Go visit your neighborhood associations. I can smugly say I've done mine. So, take that.